General Motors CEO Mary Barra recently sat down for a bizarre interview with CBS, where the network seemed intent on hyping up the company. They focused on Mary's power and vision for GM, along with her decade-long tenure, with catchy phrases like, "This isn't your grandfather's GM." CBS tried to spin a modern narrative, but ironically, GM dominated the industry back in those days. But today, beneath the glossy promotion lies a stark reality. Back in 2021, Mary Barra boldly promised to overtake Tesla in the electric vehicle space by 2025, a 4-year pledge that fired up excitement and set a high bar for GM's future. Yet, as 2025 rapidly approaches, GM finds itself nowhere near Tesla's pace, with the company quietly walking back from that ambitious goal. Indeed, General Motors has shown some progress, having just reported an impressive 60% growth rate in electric vehicle sales just this week when it announced third quarter sales for 2024. They delivered just over 32,000 EVs, but keep in mind where they're coming from. Just last year, in the first quarter, the company was on a roll, selling almost 20,000 Chevy Bolt EVs and EUVs alone in the US. However, this number dwindled down to just over 15,000 Bolts by Q3 2023, which makes for easy compares coming off this low base, given their stated 60% growth rate in this year's third quarter. The Bolt was then discontinued at the end of last year, and the remaining sales are nearly extinct today. But credit to GM for bringing up a host of new models to achieve a record quarter in EVs for the company. Unfortunately, the overall company saw a 2% decline in unit sales, meaning that every money-losing electric vehicle replaced one of GM's own profitable ICE cars, essentially eating its own market share. Incredibly, despite this large gap with Tesla, which delivered 462,000 EVs in the same quarter, Mary Barra continues to insist that legacy automakers like General Motors can still catch up. This situation with GM is starting to feel like deja vu. Grand promises with little follow-through, even as the environment today appears to be much more difficult than it was in 2021, with higher inflation, some of the highest average car prices we've seen, over $48,000 in the US, fairly high interest rates, and GM's competitors like Tesla continue to pull out costs and make their vehicles highly competitive, leaving GM in somewhat of a scramble trying to once again catch up. The pressure is mounting for Mary Barra to turn words into results, as Tesla's lead widens with every passing day. The clock is ticking, and the auto industry won't wait. Now, CBS had a recent interview with their own Chris Van Cleve testing out GM's self-driving technology Super Cruise with Mary Barra. Cleve appears to be stunned as a button is pressed and he can now, with trembling hands, take them off the wheel. Mary Barra says, hands off the wheel, feet off the pedals, but you have to be looking forward. Any onlooker would think, this is incredible technology from General Motors. However, upon closer inspection, they're driving it on a closed course, with no one else on the road besides cameramen. The truth is that the head of GM's Cruise unit, Kyle Vogt, resigned last year amid safety concerns for the automated driving software. General Motors was originally planning a product called Ultra Cruise, which was envisioned as an advanced hands-free driving system designed to cover over 95% of driving scenarios on all paved roads in the US and Canada, including city streets, highways, and rural roads. This was meant to take on Tesla's full self-driving software. However, after the kerfuffle at GM as they let go their head of Cruise, Ultra Cruise was put on the back burner in favor of Super Cruise, a limited hands-free driving experience on pre-mapped highways, which does not support more complex scenarios such as city driving, traffic light stop signs, or navigating local streets. We previously highlighted that Ford is doing something similar, as legacy auto has not invested in large data centers and AI like Elon Musk is pushing heavily on at Tesla, making it very difficult to magically come up with a solution to take on FSD. Super Cruise pre-maps its highways very accurately using LiDAR to create a high-definition map, something that Tesla has intentionally stayed away from. That's because roads change quite frequently, whether it's through construction, which could change the entire structure of a street, or repainting the line locations, or even just putting temporary signs and pylons to redirect traffic. A high-definition map, which needs to be accurately maintained in real time, can quickly become outdated, and its job is to position the vehicle correctly onto the road. On GM's website, it officially states that Super Cruise will not steer to avoid safety situations, construction zones, objects, or road impediments. Super Cruise will not brake the vehicle when approaching an intersection that's controlled by a traffic light or stop sign. Super Cruise will not detect vehicles crossing in the road ahead, including at intersections, and will not automatically steer or brake to prevent a collision. You must manually brake and steer the vehicle, and if equipped with lane change on demand, you are able to prompt the system to change lanes for you. This doesn't sound like a hands-free system at all. It's overhyped cruise control being marketed as semi-autonomous Super Cruise. And many highways actually have random traffic lights in intersections, especially when passing through small towns or cities, not to mention the bizarre map of available roads, which don't even connect to each other. It's no wonder Elon Musk is actively hinting that other firms should license FSD from Tesla, which is designed to handle all of these scenarios and then some. Based on this, it looks like Tesla is going to have a lineup of customer OEMs grappling to license their technology. It's also unclear if General Motors can shift its sales to become fully electric by 2035, which Mary Barra promised 3 years ago would occur. And 2035 is still 11 years away. Pretty much anything can happen during that time period, but it's curious that today she narrows down the scope to just light-duty vehicles, achieving electrification by then. GM isn't even confident that its heavy-duty vehicles can make the switch, which is strange since they have sort of proven it out with the Hummer EV. But this may mean that their heavy-duty lineup may not exist in its current form if they can't keep up with the companies that can make heavy-duty electric cars and trucks. The Tesla Cybertruck is already almost outselling all electric trucks combined, and it continues to ramp quickly. Elon Musk said a few months ago that Tesla will soon stop with the more expensive Foundation Series trucks and move to the cheaper models. This is just starting to happen now in the US, while other countries like Mexico and Canada begin to get Foundation Series Cybertrucks. Given how well the $100,000 to $120,000 Cybertruck has been doing, demand for the Cybertruck starting $20,000 cheaper at $79,990 will be massive as Tesla starts working through its 2 million pre-order backlog. GM's latest is the Cadillac Escalade IQ, which is just beginning production now. However, after everyone was done laughing at Tesla's $100,000 Cybertruck starting price, which didn't take it much to become the best-selling EV pickup truck in the world, the Escalade IQ starts at $130,000 and could run buyers all the way up to $170,000. GM's customers are paying up for inferior software, which is something that encompasses all of their vehicles. This is interesting because General Motors currently has 9 electric models available today, with 4 more on the way. They believe that more models means more success, even though each model only sells a few hundred or a few thousand units. Imagine the overhead required to design and maintain all of these variants and keep their software up to date on each of them. This is the classic story of Apple versus everyone else, where Apple only had a small number of phones to focus on, while other players were throwing darts hoping something would stick. GM has a different vehicle for every consumer taste, but many different models quickly turns into a juggling act. Apple only expanded its lineup once they were selling millions of devices, and Tesla is following the same proven strategy with fewer models at higher volume, which allows them to focus on building state-of-the-art software rather than trying to get it to work on tens of different types of vehicles, each with their own quirks. Have a look at this General Motors recall from 2 weeks ago, which affects not just EVs, but new vehicles from 2023 to 2024. GM simply needs to add a warning light for low brake fluid, which will be done via a free over-the-air software update. They say, owners can also schedule an appointment to have the update performed at a GM dealership. Imagine having to drive to an Apple or Google store every time you want to update an app on your phone. This is either a waste of dealership resources or a way to find other issues with your vehicle to upsell customers on more service. Now, GM is simply taking its existing vehicle lineups and adding in electric propulsion systems. And again, keep in mind that they're promising full electrification of light vehicles by 2035. However, when Corvette chief engineer Tony Roma was asked about electrifying the Corvette, he seemed a little dumbfounded and stated that they won't make a Corvette electric just for the sake of it. It needs to add some benefit and make the car better in some way. This is a little weird. Instant torque from an electric powertrain would likely launch this light vehicle forward faster than any Corvette around, but the company appears to be more focused on the engine sound that it makes, which of course can't be replaced, say by an audio file that syncs up with a gas pedal. As GM contemplates electric motors with itself for multiple years, Tesla is meanwhile preparing to eventually release what Elon Musk calls dessert, the new Roadster, which will likely force companies to switch to electric for high-end supercars. But in all honesty, Tesla can keep waiting on the Roadster since they have zero competition. The race is on, especially as Mary Barra promised that Joe Biden would be first to drive an electric Corvette, but he probably thinks that he's already driven it. When asked whether legacy automakers can catch up with Tesla, Mary Barra confidently asserted, "We can and we are." However, this statement raises serious questions about the actual progress being made at GM. The reality is that the company has been struggling with lumpy sales to its dealerships and to close the gap with Tesla, which continues to lead in innovation and production. It's estimated that Tesla sold about 16,000 Cybertrucks this quarter, a vehicle that's only been out on the market for 3.5 quarters. This is half of what all of GM sold in the EV space, and they've been selling EVs for the last 7 years. Furthermore, Barra mentioned that most of the talent at GM has been with the company for less than 5 years. This raises a critical concern. If a significant portion of the workforce lacks extensive experience in the automotive industry, how can they effectively drive the transformation needed to compete with established players like Tesla? Experience matters, especially in an industry that is rapidly evolving through integrating technology and meeting long-time loyal consumer expectations. And so Mary Barra's optimistic outlook may sound good on paper, but it doesn't appear to reflect the hard truths facing GM. With Tesla surging ahead and the clock ticking for legacy automakers, it remains to be seen whether GM can genuinely follow through on its promises. The challenge lies not just in words, but in execution, something that the automotive giant needs to prove if it hopes to reclaim a top position in the race. So what are your thoughts on Mary Barra's confidence in GM's ability to catch up with Tesla? Do you believe she has a solid plan to back up her statements? Don't forget to watch my last video on the mounting pressure on BMW. Please hit the like button and subscribe, we would really appreciate that. And a huge shout out to all of our patrons that help to support our channel. Your support helps us to continue to make great content. Thank you guys so much for watching.